So I'm in my third year of divinity school at Harvard, and I go to my thesis advisor, and I knock on his door. I said, "Excuse me, Professor Eckel, I was wondering if I might be able to take off some time here during my last year to do some field research for my thesis topic." "What is your thesis topic?" "The theology of adventure." "Miss Murden, where are you planning on doing this field research?" "Antarctica." "Miss Murden, there are no theological libraries in the Antarctic. What are you up to?" And I explained that no woman and no American had ever traveled overland to the geographical South Pole, and that, I was sure if he let me do that, I would be able to get a thesis topic out of it. And I was literally going to put my foot down where no one had walked before. And so, okay, he said, "If you can get permission from the dean of the divinity school, it's fine by me." So I went to the dean of the divinity school. I explained that we were going to traverse a side of Antarctica that had never been crossed before, 750 miles across the highest, driest, coldest continent on the face of the planet, and went on and on and on. He looked at me over his glasses, as they are wont to do at Harvard, and said, "In the 350 years of Harvard University, students have gone to great lengths for thesis topics, but this has got to be a record." And he let me go. No, there were those who said it was impossible. I subscribe to the engineering theory that the impossible merely takes longer. The wind blows north off the polar plateau, so it doesn't matter what direction you're skiing toward the South Pole from, you're going to be skiing into a headwind. Sometimes that headwind blew 70 miles an hour. It was the kind of wind that reduced you to a crawling thing. It was a wind like pounding surf. There were crevasses, great breaks in the ice. They could go down a foot or two, or they could go down 100 feet. 2 feet, it's just a little bump. 100 feet, it's a splat. Want to avoid that. Average temperature was minus 25. With a wind blowing 40 miles an hour, and when you're using snow for toilet paper, it adds a whole new dimension to the phrase wind chill. I don't usually share that part, but engineers. Then there was this stuff called sastrugi, the waves and bumps in the ice. If you want to get a feel for what it's like to ski across sastrugi, strap on a pair of skis and try skiing around your living room. Some books out on the floor, tiny sastrugi. Coffee table, small sastrugi. Couch, medium-sized sastrugi. If you want to get a feel for what it's like to ski over big sastrugi, try skiing over a bookcase or two. It's big fun. We skied 9 hours a day, 7 days a week, skied on Christmas Day, skied on New Year's Day, and on January 17th, 1989, I know some of you weren't even born then, that depresses me, I and other members of the expedition became the first Americans and first women in history to reach the South Pole by an overland route. I returned to Harvard and wrote my thesis that balanced the backcountry adventure with what I believe to be the vastly more important urban adventure. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter at all whether a woman has skied to the pole or, as I'll talk about in a while, rowed across an ocean. The true tests of courage and resourcefulness occur in civilization. No one of us can escape the heartbreaking, soul-testing, gut-wrenching experiences that go into being a human being. When I think of daring, mighty things, I think of truly difficult things, like fighting poverty, ignorance, and global devastation. I go into the backcountry because life in the backcountry for me makes sense. Ability and need find a balance. What we give to each person depends on his needs, and what we expect from each person depends on her abilities. The strongest people, the smartest people, are the people you want around. Those are the people who are of the greatest service. In the expedition equation, one who can carry more does carry more. The strongest person usually carries the tent. If we could translate this ethic back into civilization, think of the things we could achieve. I want to commend particularly the students who are here today. Your mere presence at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning tells me that you will not take jobs that you do not enjoy, to purchase things you do not need, to impress people you do not like. You have bolder dreams. You measure your worth not by what you take from life, but what you give to life. Your membership in this organization says you're about what you can give back. Now, I have worked with developmentally disabled adults. I've worked with adjudicated youth. I've worked with homeless people. I've worked in municipal government. Now, there are times when I think I am, and now I'm a university president, so there are times I think I am absolutely sure I know the way to go and the world should just follow me. When I get stuck in that arrogant frame of mind, I think of something that happened when I was traveling in Antarctica. Now, you don't go anywhere in the Antarctic without your glacier glasses on, because going snowblind is a real bummer. It's essentially sunburn in your eyes. It's no fun. And there were 7 days in Antarctica when we traveled in whiteout conditions. Whiteouts happen when the clouds come down onto the surface of the snow. Up is white, down is white, left is white, right is white, and you literally can't see the ground in front of you. And how you navigate in a whiteout is to send the youngest, I was young then, member of the expedition team out off into the mist. And because that person's out off in the mist, you have a landmark and you can see the ground and you're in good shape, right? But if you're that person out off in the mist, you look like you've been drinking things that the board was drinking last night. And one day I was leading and I lifted my ski to ski over what I thought was a hill, and I fell into a depression. The light was so flat I couldn't tell the difference between up and down. Now, how you navigate is you take your compass. It's a standard mountaineering compass with a sighting mirror. It's also known as an idiot's compass because it shows you who's lost. And you take your compass and you look for any landmark due south. And I was really excited this day because I had a perfect landmark, 180 degrees due south. I'm skiing right for it, skiing right for it, skiing right for it. Colonel Ron Milnarek of the U.S. Air Force was my second that day, and it was Ron's job to correct any deviations in my course. He said, "Tori, you're veering right." I'm like, no, I'm not. I was a graduate of the National Outdoor Leadership School. I knew how to use a compass, by Harry God, and I was young and perfect. I checked my compass. My landmark was due south. I skied right for it, skied right for it, skied right for it. "Tori, you're veering right." I'm like, no, I'm not. I checked my compass again just to humor him. My landmark was perfect. Skied right for it, skied right for it, skied right for it. "Tori, you're veering right." That's it. He's a dead man. I'm going to have to kill him. I never veer right. I'm a real Democrat. I don't veer right. It doesn't happen. I've just identified every Republican in the room. For the Republicans among you, I married a Republican. I am still doing my penance. So I turned to give Colonel Ron Milnarek of the United States Air Force my very best Murden death stare. And when I did that, I realized that my landmark off in the mist was a spot of frost on my glasses. Don't you just hate it when that happens? So the point of this story is our landmarks are terribly important. The things you choose to follow, the dreams you choose to pursue, are desperately important. We can choose to follow all kinds of ridiculous things. We can believe the commercials on TV that Noxzema will make me beautiful. I could eat the stuff, I wouldn't look like those women. You know? Or, yeah, you got the point. Václav Havel once said, "Keep the company and seek the company of those who are searching after truth, and run away from those who think they have found it." My expedition experiences have taught me humility, patience, endurance. They help me to understand the vast reach of human imagination and ingenuity. So, all right. They also teach me a tolerance for adversity and a comfort with uncertainty. And I don't really have time to read this passage, but I was going to read a passage. No. You can see this debate going on in my head. Yes, no, yes. All right. This is about reality. It's all about liberal arts versus professional studies. My backcountry experiences, especially my time with the National Outdoor Leadership School, had taught me that life in the wilderness has a transparency that is difficult to find in civilization. Just before Noel's students return home, the school briefs them on what to expect as they re-enter the harsher environment of civilization. Life in the backcountry is reduced to the bare essentials: some equipment, some food, and if you are lucky, a few friends with whom to share your experience. You don't carry much with you, so you take care of the things that you have. You watch the weather and always know where to find your raincoat. You learn to take care of yourself and the people around you. You don't leave things half done, because a half-tied knot or a half-pitched tent can lead to serious consequences. You do things that are difficult. You take risks that may require you to trust your companions with your very life. When you ask another climber, "How are you?" you genuinely care about the answer. Life in the real world is hazy. It is piled full of superfluous things that have little bearing on survival. Modern conveniences equate with disposability. When things break, we throw them away. When friendships break, we throw them away. After all, there are so many people. We don't watch the weather, we change the thermostat. We don't take care of ourselves, we leave that to the doctors and the lawyers. We don't take care of the people around us, we pay taxes and expect the government to do the caretaking. We place our trust in our locks and our alarm systems. People come and go at dizzying speeds, and most encounters are frustratingly superficial. When I ask someone, "How are you?" I seldom slow my pace to listen to the response. Reality is sometimes difficult to find in the real world. No one of us is perfect. Each person is a blend of dust and divinity. Each is mortal and each heroic. The title for my talk comes from a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. It's my favorite quote. He said, "Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much because they live in the gray twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat." You say whatever you like about me. I haven't spent much time in the gray twilight. We all face obstacles, each and every one of us. We all have oceans to traverse. We all face waves. We all tangle with storms. We take on the challenges before us one step at a time. Step after step, we traverse the distance between possibility and fact. So, my speech is too long, and I'm trying to decide how to cut it, standing before you this morning. So, I need to get back to the errors in that tape. I worked for the mayor of Louisville, and we wrote this empowerment zone application for $100 million, and it was to rebuild the distressed neighborhoods in the western side of Louisville. And we were assured that politics would play no part in the decision-making. And I believed them, because I was young and foolish. We wrote the best application in the history of empowerment zone applications, but the money went to Los Angeles and Chicago and Baltimore and cities with more political pull than Louisville, Kentucky, the home of all great ocean rowers. And so I was devastated, and to get over it, I went for a little row. I took a very large, it was built for two, very heavy, made of plywood boat, west to east across the Atlantic Ocean, or I attempted to take it across the Atlantic Ocean going west to east. I rode 3,000 miles when I was hit by Hurricane Danielle. Now, the video says, after 11 hours and a severe shoulder injury, she called for help. Makes it sound like I dropped my nail file overboard. Just to be clear, the hurricane hit on September the 5th. The morning of September the 5th, the boat capsized 5 or 6 times. Now, you're all brilliant people. You're thinking, she's a university president. Was it 5 or was it 6? She can't count to 6? Okay, when you're inside this cabin and you're bouncing around like a ping pong ball, you just see the ceiling going by. You don't really get to count how many times it went by. So after the 5th or 6th episode of the day, I thought, I'm getting out of here. I can't take it anymore. I get out of my watertight cabin, climb out of my watertight hatch, tie into my safety tether, crawl across the deck to get my emergency position indicating radio beacon, better known as an EPIRB. You turn it on, it says, help! You don't turn it on, it doesn't say anything. In the time it took me to get out there, waves were washing over the boat. It was doing this really annoying submarine thing. When your ears pop because the boat's gone so far under the surface of the water, it's a bad sign. And I realized, as I said in the video, I could not ask another human being to come out into that storm to get me. I had placed myself on an ocean in a rowboat, and I had to take responsibility for that. I took the distress beacon, tied it to my life vest, crawled back across the deck, got back into the cabin, and I went through 5 or 6 more capsizes that day with the distress beacon tied to my life vest, not setting it off with my other hand. 2 of my capsizes were end-over-end pitch poles. It really hurts when the boat flips over that way. One capsize dislocated my shoulder. The next capsize put it back into place. This is my definition of a bad day. Combine this with the fact that I skied 750 miles across the highest, driest, coldest continent on the face of the planet. I am not the university administrator who decides whether or not the students at Spalding University get a snow day. So time passes, and the next day the sun comes up. It's September the 6th. I spent the day bailing the water out of my boat, repairing my desalinator, getting things sorted out. And the next night, a hurricane named Earl passed well north of my position. The boat capsized another 4 times. I looked out and I thought, okay, the waves aren't nearly as big, the winds aren't nearly as strong, it's safe enough to ask for help. The other error in the tape, and I was picked up by a container ship called the Independent Spirit. You can't make that stuff up.